Hello and welcome to ABR Space. This is my first video and I'm very excited to have you here, very excited to have you watching, so thank you very much. My name is Coley and I'm a PhD student in the Education Department and I study research methodologies, specifically action research and ABR. This spring I am doing a research project on my teaching practice. It's a self-study about my teaching practice of ABR. There is a link below with more information about the research project, and there's also a link below to a survey that you can take that would help me greatly understand what I can improve and what I'm doing well. So if you can do that after watching the video, I appreciate it. If not, I hope you learned something from this video. All right, with that said, let's get started.
So now I'm going to do a very quick introduction to ABR. Before discussing what ABR is, it's helpful to discuss method versus methodology. Methodology is the framework for your research. It's the why. Why are you doing the research this way? It's the theory. Method is the tool. So if my methodology is ABR, the method I could use could be art journaling. This is an important distinction to make because the two are often easily confused. I've even seen them confused in academic published journal articles. And also because when we're talking about ABR here, we're talking about the methodology. So what is ABR? ABR stands for arts-based research. It is both an umbrella term and a specific methodology. So as an umbrella term, it stands for any sort of artistic research being done, using any kind of art in any kind of way. As a methodology, it is more specifically using art in all of its forms, be it visual, dance, performance, any kind of art, as the main way to investigate and disseminate research. So here's an example of an ABR project that I did during my master's degree. I wanted to investigate the complicated relationships that come out of domestic violence situations. To do this, I made creative writings such as poems, slam poems, and I also did visual art pieces. So I made some paintings, I made some collages, and then I moved on to some bigger artworks. On the left, you can see a sculpture that I made. On the right, you can see a mixed media piece that I made using plywood and acrylic and paint. And in the middle, you can see my dissemination of the research, which would be the final project in place of a more traditional research paper. So I had 4 of these mixed media collage pieces on plexiglass, and that is how I presented this research. So that's what makes it ABR. It was used as the main tool for investigating and as the main tool for dissemination. Another important distinction to make is ABR versus AIR. AIR stands for Arts Informed Research. And arts informed research is where art is part of the research. It's some part of the investigation or the dissemination or both. This is as opposed to ABR, where it is the main way of investigating and disseminating the research. So here's an example of an AIR project that I did in my first year as a PhD student. It is a literature review that I did, and when I was writing this, I wrote annotations, and I also made these visual annotations. So I wrote, after I read each author, what my ideas and thoughts were and what they were saying in their piece that they wrote. And I also made an artwork that showed some part of that as well. when I went to go write the final piece, I also made a final piece of artwork. And the writing and the artwork both synthesized all of these different ideas from the different authors and brought them together to discuss something. In this case, I was discussing critical pedagogy and art. So this is an AIR project because I combined both more traditional academic writing and art making. It was not the main way of investigating or the main way of disseminating the research. I used both in both parts.
Okay, so the last thing I wanted to discuss with you was recommendations for good ABR beginner books. So this is great places to start learning more about ABR. The first book I have is Method Meets Art by Patricia Levy. This is the second edition. As you can see, it has a red cover. There is also a third edition with a white cover. Either one is fine. This book is really accessible. It's easy to read and understand, and she goes through a lot of the basics and important information about ABR. The second book that I want to discuss is one that I use constantly. Actually, the next two books I'm going to discuss, I probably use every single semester in school, and they're often referenced. This one is Handbook of the Arts and Qualitative Research. It's edited by J. Gary Knowles and Ardra L. Cole. This one is put together with all sorts of experts in ABR, giving their different information, tons and tons of writing. As you can see, it's a huge book, and it covers so much, and it covers lots of different topics about ABR, and you can just read writings by some of the top people in the field. The second book is pretty much the exact same thing, but it has different information in it, maybe similar topics, but by different experts in the field. And this one is Handbook of Arts-Based Research. So really similar. This one's edited by Patricia Levy again. She's a very prolific writer. You'll see her a lot if you start studying ABR. And this one is pretty much the same. Big book, it's edited, it has tons of different writers, and either one of these or both or all three of these, they're great places to start on ABR. So one last thing before I end this video, I just want to remind you about the survey link below where you can give me a little assessment about how I did and what you would like to see more of and what you thought went well and what didn't go well. So it'd be really helpful for me if you could fill that out. There's also the link to the more information about the research project below, and I'm going to be adding references and links to the 3 books that I just showed you so that you can find those if you're interested. Thanks!